Here, this is from Tim in Washington. Tim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Going well, Tim, going well. I'm here with Phil. We're having a good time. What's up, Tim?
Hey, Phil. I just wanted to get to know who Phil was, so I went on your channel and I subscribed.
Thanks.
And I was listening to one of your podcasts you did with David Fitzgerald about missing in action.
Yes, sir.
I am so fucking interested in reading that series of books because I'm kind of doing that right now with my own study, looking at the stories of the Bible and how they fit with the precession of the sun through the ages, such as Moses fitting with the age of Aries and the beginning of the age of Aries and the end of the age of Taurus, and how Jesus being the last ram for the age of Aries and moving into the age of Pisces, and how they also fit with the sun god myths of that area.
Yeah. I recommend David Fitzgerald's books, all of them. Matter of fact, I just finished recently, him and his wife did a science fiction book called Time Shards. So if you're ever looking for a lighthearted, very good science fiction book, it's not too long, and I know David, so I expected something good, but I really liked it. That's called Time Shards. But yes, Mything in Action has 3 parts. He also did Nailed, 10 Myths, and he also did a comprehensive book on the Mormon cult. So lots of fun stuff to read from David Fitzgerald.
I've read some of his stuff too. I have the first part of Mything in Action, and I have Nailed. I have it on my Kindle. It's good stuff. I mean, I personally don't consider myself a mythicist, at least at the moment. I'm definitely more skeptical now than I used to be about this kind of stuff. But it's still worth reading, in my opinion, to see kind of where the debate in the scholarship is, and to see okay, what reasons are there to believe, what reasons aren't. It's definitely something interesting to look at, regardless, for sure.
So, Tim, do you have any questions specific for me that I can help you with?
Not really. I mean, I'm just kind of now getting into that. I've been kind of feeling like that Jesus never existed to begin with for about 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And then as I was studying the precession of the sun and realizing, oh my God, the stories of the Bible match up so well with the precession of the sun through the ages, and it just looks. And so I started reading. Oh, God, there's a couple of books that my high priestess of the coven gave me talking about Jesus and being the sun god myth, and also the second book that comes with that about the goddess. And I just haven't been able to finish them both, but very scholarly, and they have very decent footnotes that also are leading me to other places. So I'm just kind of really studying and all of that so that I can speak about it just a little bit more.
Excellent.
With a little bit more confidence, I suppose.
Well, I would love for you to read some of David Fitzgerald's stuff and call back when you get done. We'd have a great talk about it.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Tim. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I've talked to Richard Carrier, actually. I've met him, and he's a cool guy. And I think talking to him about it in person and asking a lot of those kinds of questions I really had that, you could read a book, but you can't always find the answers to. I think that helped lead me towards the mythicism position a bit more. I'm still kind of, I guess the word's agnostic to use about the issue. I don't know if I'm 50-50, maybe 60-40. Where do you fall on that?
I think the odds. So it depends on what exactly the question is.
Sure. Let's say that whether Jesus was a real person that existed.
So
yeah,
was there someone ever that had that name?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Was there someone that had that name that had some adventures that got blown out of proportion? Probably.
Sure.
Was there somebody that came back from dead a day and a half, because it wasn't 3 days even in the Bible, a day and a half after being crucified? Fuck no. Come on, people. Let's grow up. That shit didn't happen. It's not how the world works. We don't live in a supernatural world. That person didn't exist. A child who was 8 and then disappeared for 22 years and then showed up when he was 30, got sacrificed. The very idea that I have the ultimate power of the universe, and I fuck up the Garden of Eden, and I go through kings, and I go through judges, and I have a guy take his son and stab him with a knife, and then all that shit fails in the Tower of Babel, and so I've got to come down, sneak down to planet Earth, and rape a chick who's a virgin, and she's got to tell her boyfriend or her husband so I can give birth to myself. That's crazy talk. Absolutely crazy talk. We look at any other thing like Zeus and all these other myths. They're myths. It's time for us to put Christianity in the myth category. So was there some guy named Jesus? Sure. But I guess I fall pretty hard on it. It's either he didn't exist or it doesn't matter. Because if he did exist and he did most of those things, he's not a deity because we don't have deities.
Sure. I think that's where I'm at. It's like, there's a guy named Jesus that exists 2,000 years ago, and maybe the Gospels were trying to describe this historical figure and this person. And I think Paul and these other people were probably real too. Whether or not the actual stories and the events that take place in those Gospels about what he said and what he did, especially about what he said, which I think is really interesting. I think a lot of people are like, well, these events may have happened, but at least this guy said these things. And I'm not even sure if that's true for a lot of this stuff. I think you can cross-reference some of this material from other kinds of sources. And just kind of look at the history of how these specific sources developed, and especially if you look at the Q documents and stuff. I mean, it's a whole thing.
The other thing,
we could do a whole episode on this. Really,
the other thing, it segues really good with my other topic, money.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
To borrow from George Carlin, the guy can create the entire universe, but just can't do money. So here's what I'm going to do. Hang on a second. Hang on. I got a challenge for Jesus right now.
Oh man.
Right. Here's $20 American. Right there, Jesus, you got the next hour. Come and take it, bitch. It's there waiting for you. He always needs money. Come take it. Don't make me go take it to one of your church centers because those guys skim so much off. You know how much churches give? There's another money thing.
Okay.
You know what the average church actually gives to charity?
Tell me.
Now, I'm not counting building expenses. I'm not counting land expenses and replacing the boiler and replacing the roof and paying the minister and the minister's house and the minister's secretary. I'm not talking about all the funds that go to pay off parents who got raped as a child or their child got raped. I'm not talking about that. I'm not even talking necessarily about mission trips where they go and they build a school. Well, maybe they're helping a little bit there. But how much actually goes to coats and shoes and food and soup kitchens? What do you think?
Less than 10%.
Yeah, about 2-3%.
Okay, wow.
Now, one of the things I do on my show, I have a little segment for sometimes called Church Money. And I encourage my listeners, if they're ever in a church, like if you have to go vote, a lot of places, the place you go vote is in a freaking church.
Yeah.
Not in a school gymnasium, not in the YMCA, not in a public building, freaking church. Okay, I have problems with that on its own. But if you're in a church to vote, if you're in a church for some other reason, funeral, wedding, whatever, around the front door, look on the tables, and sometimes the church will put out their budget. And so I have people looking in churches for budgets, and they send me the budgets, and I go over them line by line on my show. I call out the church name, the location, the city, the denomination, and we go through line by line by line. And I just did one for a Methodist church. It's either Michigan or Wisconsin. I can't remember. But it's in the show, and they give about 2% of their money towards charity, towards helping other people. 98% of the rest disappears or goes to funding the actual organization.
Wow. I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the sell. It's like, oh, you're giving these money, so it's going to help towards these other things and stuff. But so many people don't realize, how much a building costs and how much it costs to pay people and stuff and how much it's actually going to go towards these other kind of mundane things that you don't think about. When you're putting the money in the offering plate, it was always like, oh, this is going to God. This is going to some other thing. Whoa, we got a...
Yeah, my 20 just disappeared.
What is that? Whoa.
Oh, praise Jesus. I am a convert right now.
You guys see that? Was that live? That's crazy. What was that? Amazing.
Yeah, that was a shitty investment on my part.
We got some supernatural activity going on. Call the paranormal activity guys. We need to make a movie in here.
That's right.
That's wild.
Jesus just took my $20.
I guess so.
I guess
you're out $20.
I guess I just got converted right there. Now all I need is the Kalam cosmological bullshit argument.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh man, that's good. That's so good. But I love that. So like you do like church audits, basically. It's really
Well, from time to time,
Yeah.
but if you're ever in a church for some reason, just look around. If you see the budget, grab a copy. There's usually a stack of them because some churches, not a lot of them, but some churches want everyone in the parishioners to know where the money's going because when they beg and plead for more money, they want to show you where it's already going. So it's a nice thing, and maybe they don't want the public to see it.
Sure.
But I sure as fuck do, and I'm going to talk about it on my show. It's good fun.
I think even if I was a Christian, I would feel okay about that. It's like, okay, yeah, people should know where this money is
That's
going. We
right.
should make
That's
this public. We should, you know.
But if you think you're giving money to a church and 80 or 70 or 50% of it's going to help somebody other than the staff, you're very, very deluded. You have no basic understanding of reality, which is, well, that's why you go to church. But just look through this document and look, they've got it broken down where it goes to.
Yeah.
How much goes to each and everything, how much is set aside for maintenance, how much is going to the boiler fund, roof repairs, repaving the parking lot, paying off the minister's mistress. It's all listed. Oh, maybe that's not listed.
It's not a line item.
Yeah,
huh?
but it's, like Sarah Silverman once said, sell the Vatican, feed the poor.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting on a mountain of gold? What the church basically has become. What is the dragon in Lord of the Rings? What's his name?
Smaug.
Smaug.
Yeah.
The church is like Smaug. You know, they've got all this gold and they hoard it and they put it under the Vatican. And what do they do with it? Nothing.
Yeah.
You know how many people they can help and feed? They're not interested in that. It's an international child rape gang.
Whew. Yeah.
There's my.
That. Yeah. I mean,
send your emails to.
Please don't. But yeah, I mean, the Vatican City stuff. I mean, again, that's another thing we could just go on tangents on because you see people sitting on thrones, and it's like, and these processions and these ceremonies and things, and it's just like, and it's just this tiny walled city surrounded by an area that, I mean, you can see the economic disparity. I was my girlfriend recently went to Italy for New Year's, so she went on a trip there, and looking at pictures of the difference between being in the city and being outside the city.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And the church causes a problem for the country of Italy because they are the single largest land owner
Right.
in the entire country of Italy.
Right.
And they don't pay tax.
Yeah.
And so Italy, it suffers from that some.
Right.